So I just walked through this deck. It's a deck that we're repeating over and over across the Americas and EMEA. The value proposition is there, it's strong, and we've had varied success repeating it across companies. Okay?
Right.
So here's the framework or the background or the laying the groundwork. Okay? And this is my personal story, but everybody that I know that's been around in finance and accounting for 25 years or so know what I'm talking about. They understand exactly what I'm talking about. 25 years ago, we used to have these systems, we call them green screens, right? They were the source system, the transaction system, the general ledger, and they would print out reports. And in my case, I had on day one of month-end close, I walked into my office and I had 1,600-page green bar report sitting on my desk. And I said to my boss, what am I supposed to do with that? And he said, take the summary level numbers and type them into Lotus 123 for DOS. Okay, and this is what my job was. And I quickly realized that maybe I shouldn't have chosen the accounting profession, but it ended up doing pretty good for me. So what's really interesting is 25 years later, it's not much different. The system record is SAP, or the system of record is PeopleSoft, or many other general ledger systems. But what we do is we spend a lot of time on this arrow right here called hierarchy management in order to spit out these static reports.
Yep.
And then what we do is we say, you know, I'd rather have this in a spreadsheet, so then you export the report to the spreadsheet. Same exact problem, right? What happens when a question comes up? A question comes up and they needed the details. Guess what they also do? They run a SQL to get the details, store it in an Access database, and then import that into a spreadsheet. So all this work around governance, around master data management, around security has completely gone across. We completely worked around it because of the inflexibility of this particular process path. And we're storing all the data multiple times on our desktops. And we're doing it because, hey, Excel is a flexible tool.
Yep.
I'm going to say the same thing slightly different. In finance and accounting, we go to the data source, we run a report or a subledger, we download that report, we import that report into the spreadsheet, we then bring in other data in the spreadsheet and join the tables with VLOOKUPs and SUMIFs, and then we create pivot tables, filters, static charts. And then the next month comes, and we just do it again. And the next month comes, and we do it again. And the next month comes, and we do it again. Well, every other visualization tool other than Qlik is essentially just adding a step to this process. Because with Qlik, what we're doing is we're taking those multiple source systems, and we're creating an application that is a one-time setup, and the Qlik app is refreshed for real-time or near real-time updates, and the process is completely streamlined, saving hours and weeks of work every cycle. So if you thought about 80% of our time was manual spreadsheet work and 20% of our time analysis, with Qlik, we've turned that 80-20 rule completely upside down. And it's more like 10% preparing the data and 90% analysis. And this is not like as excited as I am about talking about it, it's not isolated to one company. All of our finance customers that are using Qlik for this processes are achieving the same benefit and even greater benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So because of the repeatability of the finance use cases, and we saw a lot of momentum in it, I said, you know, I'm going to put together a demo that demonstrates all the things inside of Qlik that are valuable to people in finance. And so essentially what I did was I created the Finance Toolkit. And the point being is I'm trying to highlight there's multiple layers of value propositions in Qlik. One is to get the analysis quickly. Another is to eliminate all of the manual formula-based spreadsheet pushes. Another is to flip the 80-20 rule. And we're able to do all these things. Our customers are able to truly eliminate this manual work and outside of the controlled and governed system work, because our platform actually turns out to be very uniquely qualified to handle finance use cases, through which we have what we call I call a broad and deep library of functions that are used by the finance team. In the Finance Toolkit, this whole circle here, these are all sheets in the app, is a demonstration of those types of functions that are valuable. And then one last word about the sunset policy. So when I was a divisional CFO at CIT Group in the U.S., I established a sunset policy that was for every application, Qlik application, we put on a Qlik server and turn on this refresh one-time setup but automatically refreshed. I'm going to find 3 to 5 other processes, spreadsheets, access databases, SQL pulls, crystal reports, business objects, Cognos reports. I'm going to find 3 to 5, and I'm going to replace them. I'm going to take them out. I'm going to put them on the hook. They're going to be sunsetted.
Right.
And after putting 3 Qlik applications on the server, I found 63. 63 spreadsheets, SQL pulls, business objects, Cognos, crystal reports, access databases, you name it, with 3 apps.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
And I was saying that I had the same experience. I ran a finance harmonization project, and the project was 3 years. By the time we finished that project, everybody already so stick on to the. I mean, the whole project was to replace, as you say, the sunsetting some of the manual reporting. But the project took so long, and we never managed to get rid of any of the Excel, and we just changed the source of where they're extracting. Yes, true enough, they are not extracting from SAP ERP system about reporting. They're just extracting from now business objects, which was kind of
exactly. It's been done because of the general acceptance of relational databases over the last 50 years as the only way to solve this business problem. And that is where Qlik comes in, because we are so much more than a relational database. We're a platform. And, I mentioned the functions and expressions in the library that we have, but that's one piece of the analytics side of the data, analytics, and insights supply chain. Okay? The platform itself handles data management, data cataloging, creating a shopping cart approach where you can democratize the data, ETL, handling big data with a big data index, combining multiple data sources with a full outer join. And then you get to the analytics, which I kind of touched on, with the function expressions, but also the ability to integrate with that with Python or R or Data Robot, or also our full and broad library of geocalculations, which is actually very, very unique. If you look under the hood and look at this geocalculation library, there's nobody else out there that has anything like it. And then you get to the decision-making or the insight side, and this is kind of like the consumption model. How do people consume information? And if you start at the end, people are consuming information on their iPhone. When we redesigned the Qlik platform and called it Qlik Sense, we opened up the platform and defined a library of APIs and opened them up for people to develop custom applications on. Now, that's step one that we did. The other thing that we did, though, was we made Qlik Sense the overall user experience of the Qlik engine, the Qlik platform. We designed Qlik Sense to be mobile first. And what mobile first means is that every application you create automatically works properly on an iPhone, an iPad, an Android device. It doesn't matter. It's browser-based. And that's very unique and interesting compared to the other platforms out there or the other tools out there. And then, as I mentioned, it's all custom. You can extend the platform through third-party integration. You can build your own custom applications and just use the engine, or create a chatbot through Skype and Microsoft Teams and Slack, for example, which is something we just bought. As a company that had created a chatbot, did a really good job of it, so we bought them. If you still want to do static reporting, you can still do static reporting. It's okay with us. We have the capabilities on the platform. And then, of course, guided and governed self-service, guided dashboards and self-service. The key point being is that the associative engine, the associative engine is the foundation of this entire platform, and this is more than just visualization. This is more than just extending that business problem I defined earlier and making it a longer manual process. It's actually ripping and replacing that process and flipping the 80-20 rule to be more like 10-90.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah, Paul, I just got a question. Earlier on, you spoke a lot about, finance is very into this hierarchy reporting, whether it's cost center, profit center, or even GL. Do we tackle it in Qlik elegantly? Elegantly is not rebuilding the hierarchy over again.
Yeah, we can eliminate 95% of the hierarchy maintenance problem. Absolutely. Because the hierarchies change, but the fields that define those hierarchies don't change. And that's a beautiful thing for Qlik, because we bring all the data in and we actually we aggregate and calculate the end every time. And so what the primary purpose for the hierarchy is to pre-aggregate and make the data smaller. That's the primary reason, and you don't need to make the data smaller with Qlik. It's unnecessary. It's moot. We've solved it.
Yeah, I thought that this is our strongest point, because of our in-memory technology. We can do a lot of calculation on the fly, which means then when it comes to cost center reporting, for example, where they start to drill down, and this is where we are taking the piece of the performance into our software instead of doing that within the background.
Yeah.
Which tends to be the biggest issue for a lot of reporting too. Yeah.
Exactly. Great. So so at this point now I break off and I'll pop in to what I call the Finance Toolkit. Okay. And this is a demo app. It's on the demo site. I think I want to look at this one instead. Hold on a second. I thought I actually changed this, and apparently it's not showing up, but it's fine. So here's the lowdown is that financial analysis, whether it be balance sheet, income statement like revenue and expenses, or cost of funds, or capital allocation, or cash flow, can be broken down and made similar no matter what you're actually looking at. And so in this case, I'm analyzing expenses compared to forecast. And this is something, again, it doesn't matter. You could do revenue compared to forecast. You could do assets this quarter versus last quarter. You could do full year versus full year. You could do this week versus last week. The point of the whole thing is to find out the variance. What came in? What did I think was going to come in? What's the variance? And then what's the variance as a percent of? So I put the KPIs across the top, standard dashboarding practice, okay? Then the top left is order of magnitude. Where did the numbers come from? And the top right is trend. How are we looking over the course of time, and how do we compare to what we forecasted in that time? And then the bottom left is what's called a variance waterfall. And this is that chart that I'm pretty excited about, right? The whole purpose of this exercise is to find out, where did this 238 come from? Well, we know it came from 3 cost centers. Or in this case, they're cost centers, expense types actually. Expense types. And so I might want to say, hey, let's take a look at it by low level, product level. Okay. And it turns out that almost the entire variance comes from customized credit strategies, the business unit. right? These are business units I'm looking at, or products, right? And you know what? I need to find that out. And at this point, I drilled in, and I realized that I've analyzed 240 of the $238 million variance, and I see, hey, guess what? There's a problem. There's a problem in September. There's a problem in December. Now, somebody in my organization is responsible for this, and this is really important. In the old world, what I would have done is taken a picture of this and sent an email and said, hey, you have a problem. You need to fix September and December. Get back to me as soon as possible. And then they would immediately send an email back and say, thanks, but you need to send me the details so I can see what you're looking at. And then you'd find a way to figure out how to get all the email into a view that they could look at, in a spreadsheet they could look at, send them a spreadsheet, and pray that they actually use the spreadsheet correct. Right? And what I'm saying here is, wait, there's a problem. So I click this button, and I send it to CK, and I say, CK, do your job. And when you open this up, you're going to see the exact same view that I was looking at. And so I've just eliminated countless emails throughout an organization and countless exporting of spreadsheets and shipping spreadsheets over email. Countless. Okay, so then the next thing that happens, and I'm going pretty fast here, but the next thing that happens is, because this person screwed their forecast up, I have to stop and wait for them to fix their problem before I can analyze it any further. Well, guess what? You don't have to do that with Qlik. I can actually click on this little breadcrumb trail and see that I have customized credit strategies open, but I'm going to say select excluded, and I'm going to look at everything except for customized credit strategies. And now I can move on with my analysis.
Right.
Yeah?
Yep.
Now, this view of data that I've just showed you it's a 1-hour proof of concept. It's a pretty bold statement, but this is a 1-hour proof of concept. You can build this app on any general ledger detailed transaction table data. Because all it is 4 KPIs, a bar chart, a trend chart, a variance waterfall. In fact, what I usually do, I'm going to pause my presentation for a second. Actually, this is what I do. Add that to master items. And then I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this and delete it. And I'm going to take this and the tabs, and I'm going to take the waterfall off, and I'm going to make the explanation instead of the waterfall, because everybody gets distracted by that. All right? So then I'm going to bring in a new waterfall, and now I'll leave the waterfall always up, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that actually solved that problem. And if you want to look at the narrative, you can always go there and talk about the extendability of the Qlik platform and the ability to take advantage of the power of other technologies and have them seamlessly integrated with Qlik. Right? But for now, we're focusing on this. Now, at any given time, let's say that I'm doing analysis of the first half, and I'm doing everything except for customized credit strategies. I'll tell you a story. My CEO told me, or asked me when I first showed him Qlik, I was like, you got to look at this. I built this in a couple hours, and this solves all of our pain. And he goes, Paul, I've been burned by somebody promising, these types of solutions for my entire career. He goes, I have 2 questions for you. One is, how do you know the data's right? And the other is, can I drill to detail? So number 1, how do I know the data is right? I know the data is right because this is not pre-aggregated. I'm aggregating everything on the fly. I have the details as part of the data model. Okay? And I can, because I have the details, I know I can make selections, and it's only just selecting on details. It's not It's not doing left joins or right joins. I'm not risking duplicating data or losing data or not accounting for null values properly. It's all there. Okay? And then number 2 is, can you drill to details? Well, I just said I have all the details. Guess what? I can drill to the details. That's my second page of every 1-hour proof of concept, is creating a detail table. And this is not a detail table, but if I started to make selections on this stuff, you can see all of a sudden it goes crazy, and I've got a whole bunch of rows. Well, guess what? It's valuable to have all the rows, because I could always go in here and just do a search for something. And I can just search for April, right? Or, sorry, April. I don't know why April disappeared on me, actually. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
Right? And then, now, what's the first thing that people do when they see this? What do people that don't understand Qlik do when they see this table right here? What's their question? That's right. That's right. They say, oh, can I export that to Excel? And the answer is no, you don't have to. Yes, you can, but you don't have to, because what we say at Qlik is every time every time data gets exported from QlikSense to Excel, an angel loses its wings. And the reason is because it's all there already. You can build anything on this, but in fact, go ahead, click on the export button on this particular table, and you have the ability to export it to a new app. Think about that. I am on a server, and I have a controlled, governed, signed off on gold standard application, but I want to give certain power users the ability to create their own stuff. Well, why would I have them export to Excel and create their own stuff in a separate tool? I can simply export it to a new app, right? Name it whatever. And what it's going to do is going to take all those fields and measures and send them over to a new app in their work stream on the server. And I can see there's my measures, I've got the calendar recognized, and I could do generate insights, and I could actually build a dashboard just like that.
Nice.
All right?
Would they import the data model, or is just this set of data that is in the table?
The data that was in the table. So it automatically works. Now, how easy is that, right? So then I say, all right, I'm going to close that. That demonstrated that you don't have to export Excel and have an angel lose its wings. I've also got the rest of this toolkit created to demonstrate the functional library in Qlik that is specifically useful for finance and accounting folks, the people like, people like myself, my kinship, right? And I never have enough time to go through all this, but there's one thing I want to go over, and that's this particular view here. Now, this isn't the prettiest view, but what I'm doing here is I'm trying to implore the audience to understand that there's something seriously different about Qlik and how we calculate things, okay? So in this case, I've got a formula called total profit, and that formula is price times quantity minus variable cost times quantity minus fixed cost. About 4 calculations, 1, 2, 3, 4 calculations, and I've got it on 4,000 data points here against total profit versus price per unit. I'm essentially running a Monte Carlo simulation, okay? And this is pretty complex stuff, but all I'm doing is taking these variables and creating 1,000 runs of that calculation on a normal curve. All right? And the reason I do this is to kind of show a couple things. One is, hey, it's really interesting. You can create variables and create forecasts in Qlik. But guess what? What happens if I click on 100,000 simulations? I'm going to run 400,000 calculations. Now, think about how long it would take to create 400,000 formulas in Excel. And I just finished it just now. I ran 400,000 calculations. in 100,000 instances. So 4 calculations in this formula showing up in total profit right there.
Mm.
Now, the reason I show this is because I'm trying to say, don't take the Qlik engine for granted. Look under the hood and see what's really happening here is something completely different than any other technology in the marketplace. There's nobody else that can do what I just did. Not even close.
Mm. I think they will like this.
So that's it. That's my pitch.